first of all.
Depression, a common but serious medical illness, negatively impacts the spiritual well-being of people to varying degrees, and is the most severe in teenagers, causing mental health problems. In fact, depression can be considered one of the likely results of cyberbullying and low self-esteem, as negative emotions caused by unpleasant experiences on social media continue to accumulate. Depression may become one of the worst results. A Wall Street Journal article indicated that companies on internal studies revealed that 13% of British and 6% of US teens reported thinking about, I don't know how to read this word, suicide. Suicide traced the problem to Instagram. In addition, 32% of girls and 14% of boys indicated that Instagram magnified their feelings of negative body image. Suicide is an extreme consequence of depression, and this research showed the scary truth that social media has already become, I miss the word, become to cause your suicide indirectly. Depending on recent studies, the rate of teenagers suffering from depression is increasing and quite close related to social media usage. Hence, it's an emergency notification to all society to pay attention to our young group, and it's a time to rectify the online environment.
Okay, so your topic sentence is not related to social media.
I start from
your topic sentence relates to a definition.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and it's really important that your topic sentence is related to your key ideas. Now, you've kind of got depression, a common but serious medical illness. I would call it a mental illness. Negatively impacts the spiritual well-being of people to varying degrees, and is the most severe in teenagers. Now, it is a mental health problem. Therefore, you can't say it causes mental health problems. Now, when you say that is most severe in teenagers, how do you know that it's most severe in teenagers?
Well, from the research.
So I would be putting in where you found that. So according to where it comes from. It's most severe in teenagers, according to this article. Okay, or where did you find it? Because you're just saying most severe in teenagers. In fact, this article says, or so-and-so says, maybe where you found it, depression can be considered, or just depression is like, in fact, depression is one of the likely results of cyberbullying and low self-esteem. Still no mention of social media. So although it's cyberbullying, there's still no mention of social media, yeah? Unless, so in fact, depression is a likely result. In fact, sort of, you could say, research on social media shows that depression is a likely result of cyberbullying and low self-esteem caused by social media. You're talking about social media. Low self-esteem has got nothing to do with social media. It's like you're talking about a depression, but it's not about depression. We're talking about social media and depression. You understand?
No.
Well, this is about, so far, the first two sentences have not linked depression and social media, other than cyberbullying. And that doesn't specifically mean social media, because cyberbullying can happen by email. It can happen in other ways. So you really need to make sure that in your topic sentence, you're saying that social media also, research or evidence shows that social media is linked to depression in teenagers. That's your main idea. Because your topic is teenagers, social media, negative impact. So you need to address that in your topic sentence. Then you could say, research suggests that cyberbullying and the impact of social media on low self-esteem causes depression. And then you could say depression is very serious and significant in teenagers, or whatever, and explain what depression is.
So I need to put a topic sentence before the definition?
You need to put it, absolutely, and you need to change your definition, because it's not just about depression. It's about depression and, I mean, you can have the depression, that it's a serious illness, and that it's severe in teenagers. That's fine. That's good. Then when you go on to say, a Wall Street Journal article indicated that own internal. What are you trying to prove? What you're trying to show, a Wall Street Journal article, and then you should probably after that give the year, indicated, and then say, what does it indicate? It indicated that, okay, hold on. It indicated or revealed that 13% of British and 6% of US teens reported thinking about suicide, which can be traced to the problem of Instagram. Are you listening? Which can be traced. Yes, I'm getting that. In addition, so that's the quote continues, 32% of girls indicated that Instagram magnified their feelings of negative body image. Now, that is not relevant, because negative body image is not depression. So unless you have linked clearly the negative body image to depression, you can't use that part of the quote. Now, suicide is an extreme consequence of depression, and this research shows a scary truth that social media has already a tool to cause youth suicide indirectly. Now, suicide is an extreme consequence of depression, and this research continues to discuss or continues to link or something, the scary truth continues to reveal the scary truth. Scary is actually an informal word. I wouldn't use that. The concerning or the, truth that social media is linked, a tool. I don't know if it's cruel tool, but is linked or is directly linked to youth suicide, or indirectly linked to youth suicide, is indirectly linked to youth suicide. So what did they actually say about that? It being indirectly linked to youth suicide?
I don't get it.
You said suicide is a consequence of depression.
Yes.
And this research, so you're talking about the Wall Street Journal?
No.
Is that right?
No.
Well, what's this research?
It's just at least an example.
But if you say this, I have to think it's the things you've just said.
This research.
You're linking. So what's this research?
This.
And other research?
This article.
Which article?
This example.
So are you saying that this, think about Instagram, problem to Instagram, you're showing that it's indirectly, you're repeating sort of what they've said, is that right? So you're saying suicide is a consequence of depression, and this research here shows that it is indirectly linked to youth suicide.
Indirectly.
So what if you sort of see from what I'm saying is you've said it here, and then you're kind of repeating what is said here. The same thing. You're just repeating what that's said. So I'm thinking that maybe you should develop that a bit more. Is there any other place where you could find some evidence? So you do some synthesis, so other evidence shows. Is there another place where there was some link between youth social media and youth suicide? Was there one other place that you found anything about suicide? Because you've used the Wall Street Journal there, right? I'm just thinking, so you've made the link, but to develop the idea, is it possible that you found something else out about suicide and social media? Well, just because you've got one point,
Yes.
but it'd be nice for you to have another point, that maybe develop the idea from another place, what you found out about it, or so that you can do some kind of some little synthesis or something. Otherwise, you're not really developing the idea. Does that make sense? Because you've got your one point, which is great, that it's linked to youth suicide, but how could you develop that a little bit more? So maybe you could, yeah.
Suicide linked to the increasing of the social media usage.
Yes. You could say that this is it's a growing problem, because as the use of social media increases, so does the teenage youth suicide rate.
I imagine the next sentence, but I didn't give the example.
Yeah.
So after another research, make of interest.
Let's get this one. This is kind of repeating what you've said before. So I think when you say depending on, I think these are the wrong words. I think you mean not depending on, based on, I think you mean based on recent studies. The rate of teenagers suffering depression is increasing, and this is quite closely related to social media. This is quite closely related to the increase in social media usage. I'd do just maybe a little bit more research around social media and depression, so that I've maybe got just maybe a little bit more. What did they say here? Did we look at this one, at the example? Did you look at the example for depression? Let's have a look what they had to say. There it is. So what did they say? They do depression? Oh, they referred specifically to Facebook depression. They talked about and then the overuse having a negative effect. They're more inclined to anxiety, depression, and other psychological orders, which also makes them more likely to have future health problems. They talk about the fact that it's related to isolation, so long time online. So maybe you need to could explore a little bit more about why it causes depression. And does it? Maybe some places say that it doesn't actually cause depression. It's not linked. Did you find anybody saying that it wasn't linked? If negative emotions caused by the unpleasant experiences on social media continue to accumulate, depression may be one of the worst results. That's almost like your topic sentence, because it links to what you're talking about mental health here. I'd almost make that your topic sentence.
But I need to change it.
You could change it, and you could say depression appears to be one of the worst results. Then you could define the depression, and then you could say depression causes suicide and high suicide rates. So I might change it around. But if I were you, I'd find one more thing about